Hi, my name is Tyler Goebel with the Service Delivery Team, and I'm going to talk to you today about grooming sessions and how they've helped our team. So first, to get started, I'd like to talk about kind of how things were before we had our grooming sessions, some of the problems we ran into. One of the most common things that we would run into is you'd go to grab a story off the board, most likely because you're looking for work, you've got some downtime, or you're just looking to pick up a new piece of work, and immediately what would happen is you'd pick up the story and realize that you need some more detail. Even if it was a well-detailed story, I know that usually I have some sort of questions, usually for the person who wrote the story, but also sometimes I'd have questions for maybe my PO or someone who's maybe worked on a similar story, or someone that has some technical expertise that I might need before I get started. So a lot of times what we'd find is you'd immediately be at a standstill when you picked up that story. So another issue is, even if you got through those things, you'd go and start talking about the story you're working on at stand-up, and immediately you'd realize that no one else on the team really understands what you're working on. It was the first time you had seen the story, so obviously it's usually the first time most of your teammates had seen it as well. That you run into the same issue whenever you start doing testing, or you need someone to help you with a code review, or you just have a question with it. A lot of times you find yourself explaining that story over and over to other people because they hadn't heard of the story. So what we did to kind of remedy this issue is we started having bi-weekly grooming sessions. So every 2 weeks we get together as a team, including our product owner, and we basically just go through the stories in the backlog and kind of ask all those questions that you might ask if you were to pick up that story and start working it. And what's really important about that too is not only do you get those questions that you might ask when you start working on the story, but you also get to hear those questions from your teammates. And what I found is a lot of times my teammates will ask a question that I maybe wouldn't have thought about until halfway through the story, so that really can also save you some time during the development of the story. We also like to use that time to at least have a little bit of high-level solutioning. We definitely don't want to go too deep into the solution on the stories, or you won't really end up getting through much. But while we have everybody there in the room, I think it's really important to kind of at least come to a conclusion on what the approach will be for that story. The great thing about that is because you have all those people in the room, you get all the different inputs from everybody, and I think that's really important because we all have different skills, we all have different backgrounds, and you end up with a lot of really good input, and I think you come out with a much better story when you have everyone's input. Another great thing about it is that you agree on an approach, so no matter who picks up that story, your product owner can expect a similar result for that story. We also use that time to break the stories down further if possible, so while we're kind of talking through that solution, we can also look for opportunities to break that down into smaller pieces that'll help us kind of move that across the board faster. And really, I mean, that's the gist of it. They're pretty simple, but it's amazing the impact they can have, and really what it does is you end up with all these really well-detailed stories in your backlog, and it makes it really easy to grab work out and work it all the way across the board with a lot less hindrance. So if there's one thing I'd like you to take out of this, it would just be that collaboration aspect between the team and the product owner, and how beneficial that can be in helping you deliver work. I'd also like to talk real quick about automated testing and how it's helped our team. So whenever I started at Worldwide, we had about 220 manual regression tests on our team. Those would take our team anywhere from about 2 to 4 hours to complete as a full team heads down. What we were able to do is we were able to automate about 80% of those using protractor tests, and that's brought that regression time down from that 2 to 4 hours down to about an hour, but that's for one or two people on the team, rather than the whole team being heads down for an entire afternoon. So obviously that saved us a lot of time, but as we continue to develop more and more automated tests, we ran into the issue where these tests are taking an awful long time to run. They take about 90 minutes on our team. And so what we've done now is we were able to take those tests and split them up into groups that could be ran in parallel. They were being ran in series before because a lot of them are interdependent, but what we found is they can be grouped and then ran in parallel, and that's taken that time down to about 12 to 15 minutes. So that really saves our developers a lot of frustration. Whenever you were waiting 90 minutes, you might develop this code, you're testing it, you wait 85 minutes only to find out that it fails, it's a simple fix, and then you go in and now you've got to wait another 90 minutes to make sure that that actually did fix it, and then you don't have any more errors. So by optimizing those tests, that's really saved us a lot of time and frustration. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.